Innocent III, who lived from 1198 to 1216, called an ecumenical council which met in 1215 as the culmination of his reign. The attendees included 404 bishops, many coming for the first time from Eastern Europe, including from Bohemia, Hungary, Poland, Lithuania, and Estonia. Also in attendance were about 800 abbots of various monasteries. Many secular heads of secular states were also present. The first constitution is a creed that summarizes all the beliefs of the church, especially against certain heretics of the time. The council used for the first time the term transubstantiation to describe the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The second half of the council's constitutions had to deal with sacramental matters: yearly confession and Holy Communion, anointing of the sick, and marriages. The other canons in the second part dealt with simony among Christians and with the Jews, as well as a call for another crusade.
Constitution 21. On yearly confession to one's own priest, yearly communion, the confessional seal. All the faithful of either sex, after they have reached the age of discernment, should individually confess all their sins, in a faithful manner, to their own priest, at least once a year. And let them take care to do what they can to perform the penance imposed on them. Let them reverently receive the sacrament of the Eucharist, at least at Easter, unless they think, for a good reason, and on the advice of their own priest, that they should abstain from receiving it for a time. Otherwise, they shall be barred from entering a church during their lifetime, and they shall be denied a Christian burial at death. Let this salutary decree be frequently published in churches, so that nobody may find the pretense of an excuse in the blindness of ignorance. Let him take the utmost care, however, not to betray the sinner at all, by word or sign, or in any other way. If the priest needs wise advice, let him seek it cautiously, without any mention of the person concerned. For if anyone presumes to reveal a sin, disclosed to him in confession, we decree that he is not only to be deposed from his priestly office, but also to be confined to a strict monastery to do perpetual penance. Constitution 22. That the sick should provide for the soul before the body. As sickness of the body may sometimes be the result of sin, as the Lord said to the sick man whom he had cured, "Go and sin no more, lest something worse befall you." So we, by this present decree, order and strictly command physicians of the body, when they are called to the sick, to warn and persuade them, first of all, to call in physicians of the soul, so that after their spiritual health has been seen to, they may respond better to medicine for their bodies. For when the cause ceases, so does the effect. Constitution 27. On the instruction of ordinands. To guide souls is a supreme art. We therefore strictly order bishops carefully to prepare those who are to be promoted to the priesthood, and to instruct them, either by themselves or through other suitable persons, in the divine services and the sacraments of the Church, so that they may be able to celebrate them correctly. But if they presume henceforth to ordain the ignorant and unformed, which can indeed easily be detected, we decree that both the ordainers and those ordained are to be subject to severe punishment. For it is preferable, especially in the ordination of priests, to have a few good ministers than many bad ones, for if a blind man leads another blind man, both will fall into the pit. Constitution 47. On the form of excommunication. With the approval of this sacred council, we forbid anyone to promulgate a sentence of excommunication on anyone, unless an adequate warning has been given beforehand, in the presence of suitable persons, who can, if necessary, testify to the warning. Let him carefully avoid proceeding to excommunicate anyone, without manifest and reasonable cause. If he does so proceed, and on being humbly requested, does not take care to revoke the process without imposing punishment, then the injured person may lodge a complaint of unjust excommunication with a superior judge. Constitution 50. On the restrictions of prohibitions to matrimony. It should not be judged reprehensible if human decrees are sometimes changed according to changing circumstances, especially when urgent necessity or evident advantage demands it. Since God himself changed in the New Testament some of the things which he had commanded in the Old Testament. Since the prohibitions against contracting marriage in the second and third degree of affinity, and against uniting the offspring of a second marriage with the kindred of the first husband, often lead to difficulty and sometimes endanger souls. We therefore, in order that, when the prohibition ceases, the effect may also cease, revoke, with the approval of this sacred council, the constitutions published on this subject, and we decree, by this present constitution, that henceforth, contracting parties connected in these ways may freely be joined together. Moreover, the prohibition against marriage shall not in future go beyond the fourth degree of consanguinity and of affinity, since the prohibition cannot now generally be observed to further degrees without grave harm. Constitution 62. On relics and indulgences. The Christian religion is frequently disparaged because certain people put saints' relics up for sale and display them indiscriminately. In order that it may not be disparaged in the future, we ordain by this present decree that henceforth ancient relics shall not be displayed outside a reliquary or be put up for sale. As for newly discovered relics, let no one presume to venerate them publicly unless they have previously been approved by the authority of the Roman Pontiff. Prelates, moreover, should not in future allow those who come to their churches in order to venerate to be deceived by lying stories or false documents, as has commonly happened in many places on account of the desire for profit. Moreover, because the keys of the church are brought into contempt, and satisfaction through penance loses its force through indiscriminate and excessive indulgences, which certain prelates of churches do not fear to grant, we therefore decree that when a basilica is dedicated, the indulgence shall not be for more than 1 year, whether it is dedicated by one bishop or by more than one, and for the anniversary of the dedication, the remission of penances imposed is not to exceed 40 days. We order that the letters of indulgence, which are granted, for various reasons, at different times, are to fix this number of days, since the Roman Pontiff himself, who possesses the plenitude of power, is accustomed to observe this moderation in such things. Constitution 66. Simony and avarice among clerics. It has frequently been reported to the Apostolic See that certain clerics demand and extort payments for funeral rites for the dead, the blessing of those marrying, and the like. And if it happens that their greed is not satisfied, they deceitfully set up false impediments. On the other hand, some lay people, stirred by a ferment of heretical wickedness, strive to infringe a praiseworthy custom of Holy Church, introduced by the pious devotion of the faithful, under the pretext of canonical scruples. We therefore both forbid wicked exactions to be made in these matters, and order pious customs to be observed, ordaining that the Church's sacraments are to be given freely, but also that those who maliciously try to change a praiseworthy custom are to be restrained when the truth is known by the bishop of the place. Constitution 67. Jews and excessive usury. The more the Christian religion is restrained from usurious practices, so much the more does the perfidy of the Jews grow in these matters, so that within a short time they are exhausting the resources of Christians. Wishing, therefore, to see that Christians are not savagely oppressed by Jews in this matter, we ordain by this synodal decree that if Jews in future, on any pretext, extort oppressive and excessive interest from Christians, then they are to be removed from contact with Christians until they have made adequate satisfaction for the immoderate burden. Christians too, if need be, shall be compelled by ecclesiastical censure, without the possibility of an appeal, to abstain from commerce with them. Constitution 68. On the clothing of Jews. A difference of dress distinguishes Jews or Saracens from Christians in some provinces, but in others a certain confusion has developed, so that they are indistinguishable. Whence it sometimes happens that, by mistake, Christians join with Jewish or Saracen women, and Jews or Saracens with Christian women. In order that the offense of such a damnable mixing may not spread further, under the excuse of a mistake of this kind, we decree that such persons of either sex, in every Christian province and at all times, are to be distinguished in public from other people by the character of their dress, seeing moreover that this was enjoined upon them by Moses himself, as we read. Constitution 71. Crusade to recover the Holy Land. It is our ardent desire to liberate the Holy Land from infidel hands. We therefore declare, with the approval of this sacred council, and on the advice of prudent men who are fully aware of the circumstances of time and place, that crusaders are to make themselves ready, so that all who have arranged to go by sea shall assemble in the kingdom of Sicily on 1st June after next. Priests and other clerics, who will be in the Christian army, both those under authority and prelates, shall diligently devote themselves to prayer and exhortation, teaching the crusaders, by word and example, to have the fear and love of God always before their eyes, so that they say or do nothing that might offend the divine majesty. If they ever fall into sin, let them quickly rise up again through true penitence.